Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rhino, and I'm here gathered with some USSSA directors in their respected areas as we go over the 2024 bump list for USSSA. We have first starting off in the Southwest Division or area, Ken Hawk, who's going to talk to us a little bit about the differences in the bumps.
So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. There are basically two classifications of bumps. There are what's called auto bumps and then national classification bumps. The auto bump is if you finish in the top 10% of a world that has over 25 teams in it, the top 10% will get bumped. So if there's 100 teams, the top 10 teams will receive an automatic bump. One thing to remember about the auto bump, that if you receive an auto bump, not only do you go to the next class higher, but you get the elite status. So you get a lot of congratulations for having a wonderful year. The national classification bumps will move you from E to D or D to C or C to B, various things like that.
And so, you talk about being bumped from division to division. At the end of the day, it should be your ultimate goal to be playing at the highest division that you can, right? Unfortunately, we have some who don't see it that way. But, in your area in the Southwest, we kind of were talking a little bit before we started, and there's a couple of teams that we kind of wanted to highlight from your area. And I think the first one we were talking about out of Arkansas was the Diamond Hogs, who looked like they are getting bumped from D to C.
Yes, the Diamond Hogs had a solid year. They have a solid group of players that have been playing together with each other, and they just had a solid year. Their performance, they were in almost every tournament. They had 5 top 4 finishes throughout the year. So they're a solid team. They're ready to move to the next level.
Now we're going to go down to the E to the D, straight ball in Texas, starting it off there. And we have another team, South Rock from Arkansas, your area, along with Super Smash Bros.
Yeah, let me tell you a little bit about South Rock. South Rock has 22 top 4 finishes throughout the year. They've had over 10 first place tournament victories. They won the E-South World Tournament down in South Texas earlier in August, and they're just a solid team. They came out, they hit the ball well. Super Smash Brothers were one of their biggest competitors, and they ended up having 12 top 4 finishes throughout the year with several wins. They just top-notch. South Rock, they won the Bush with 45 teams in it, so they're a very competitive team.
Well, heck yeah, Ken Hawk, appreciate you kind of breaking it down, how everything works out. Before we go, we're going to go ahead and show a little bit of love to the women, the Lady NC Softball out of Arkansas as well.
I'm telling you what, those ladies right there, I'm gonna break down 2 ladies teams for you. One is Lady NC Softball, and one is Lady Stealth. These 2 teams went back and forth against each other. One had 7 first place victories. The other one had 5 first place victories for tournaments throughout the year. They were running from 4.2% run differential to 2 run differential. So they were pretty solid teams. They played against each other probably about 12 to 15 times this year, and they were pretty solid against each other.
Well, before we move on, I appreciate you breaking it down, Ken. Before we move on to Sam in the Northwest, I do want to reiterate, guys, that this is just a couple of teams, all right? This is all the teams. We will show, we will have the actual national bump list with the completed roster of teams going down, but this is just some that we are highlighting because we do have the directors on with us. And this is the women's D2C Lady New Wave out of Arkansas, starting things off in the number 1 spot. And we have Oklahoma Clutch, Bat City, Lady, and ARGM, Arkansas Gloveman, and then the Bangers, Lady FSU. What do you know a little bit about Lady New Wave and or ARGM?
So Lady New Wave jumped out and won the Bush this year. Their players kind of went back and forth between a couple of teams, but they came down. They were solid. They had a 5.9 run differential, which means they beat everybody by an average of 5.9 runs in the tournaments they played. Lady ARGM, Arkansas Glove Man, shout out to Taylor Carney. She was the coach for them. They won 4 tournaments out of the 5 tournaments that they played. They were just a solid team all year, hitting the ball well. They're going to do well in C.
Well, now as we move on to Sam Flores out of the Northwest, appreciate you, Ken, again. Sam, we have a couple of teams out of Washington. Obviously, you kind of oversee Washington and a little bit of the Oregon area. Let's move on with the Northwest. We have 2 teams out of Washington that are moving from D to C, and that would be Arsenal Black Hills and Summer Stoneworks Kings Drywall.
So that Summer Stoneworks team is actually a special team up here in the Northwest. They're one of our clean and sober teams. Nice. They were a middle of the pack D team up here in Washington in the Northwest. They finished the year 25-20. I mean, it's not something that's to rant and rave about, but they finished 4th at GSO Worlds, which is the reason why they have to go play the next level. When that team is there fully, I think they're gonna make some noise at the next level. So it's good for them. The Arsenal boys, Rhino, you played on that team for several years. They're just a team that's worked their way from E to D, back up to C, back down to D. And by making very little moves. So they're a very solid squad. And hopefully they can stay together next year and compete at the C level. So
watching New Era at Idaho, played against them a couple of months in Portland. They are just all over the place. They have speed, power. I mean, they are a very intense group, and they're loud. And I've been living in California, and they feel like they are a Cali team, if that makes sense. If you know what I mean, they feel like a Cali team.
I watched them play at the Border Battle in Rose City up here in Portland, and I immediately asked, why are they playing D? They score more runs than everybody. They went down to USSSA Worlds down in Vegas, and they walked through it with ease. Mm-hmm. They went down to Florida, played USSSA down there. I believe they took 7th, and I think they would have made a run in the losers bracket if their shortstop didn't get hurt. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we played them earlier this year. They beat us like 32-10. They're a very solid team. We're gonna kind of look into the E to D on the men's side. A couple of teams there I don't know too much about, but maybe you do. Let's see. We have TTG out of Washington, and we have CSN Apparel.
So the CSN Apparel team, I'm not too familiar with them, other than when I look at their roster, there's a few Canadian players on there. And some military folks. They kind of got added on to the scene a little bit later. Now I don't know if that was because of people coming back from tour or assignments or whatnot. Mm-hmm. That TTG team, very 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 good E team coming out of Southern Washington. I would say probably they have the best middle infield at the ED level in the Northwest. Hands down. Power, they can field it, they can throw it. I mean, they're good. So, HBH, they made a few additions at the end of the year to make a run at Worlds, and it actually suited them well. They finished 2nd, I believe, at state, and then finished 3rd at USSSA Worlds down there in Vegas. So, they had a good run.
And then we take a quick little look at the ladies' side of things from D to C, as we have no lady teams jumping from E to D. We have the Plastics from Idaho and Stay Goldman out of Washington.
The Plastics out of Idaho, man, I looked at their record against C teams. They're 5-0. I mean, as a D team. I mean, that explains it themselves. I believe they were 5-2 or 8-2 against their D teams there over there in Idaho. I mean, well-deserved bump to go to C. Stay Golden, another team out of Southern Washington. Bunch of fast pitch girls, believe it or not. Just got the right coaching, the right leader, and guided them to, a very good year. They actually played in the Christian Dowling Duel up here.
I have to say, yeah.
And beat a couple B conference teams, believe it or not, as a D team. So I mean, it's pretty special. So
I mean, when you're rocking, the Golden Girls on your jersey, you got to represent. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
That is that kind of wrapped up a quick little Northwest area. Sam, appreciate your time. We're slowly transition into the East, and we got Mr. Bradney out of Ohio. I'm gonna get this. Simeon Wassel, never mind. Bradney, you're up.
All right, so we got a lot of different teams to talk about here in Ohio. We have a lot of teams that did really well in Worlds. We're going to start with our D2C bump, which is Clement Trucking. Clement Trucking is a very unique team in the fact that they play really, really, really hard, no matter what the score is, no matter what's going on. They've been down, they've come back, but they've had 6 top 5 finishes on the year, finishing first at the Midwest Worlds, and taking it home for Ohio to bring it in. So very good team, coached by Brad Blitz. Great group of guys. They're going to do really well in C.
And then we have from C to B, the Charm Builders Swiss Valley Fence, right?
Yeah, so Charm Builders are an Amish team. If you guys don't know about the Amish, you need to learn how to compete against them, because they play the best defense and they have the most hustle. They play the game the right way every single time. It is amazing to watch these guys battle. But Charm Builders was actually an E team at the beginning of last year. They decided to bump themselves up to D last year, played all year, and then they bumped themselves up to C this year, and they wound up finishing 4th in the Midwest World, 2nd in Vieira, and 2nd in Vegas. So they're a really good team. 6 top 5 finishes again. They crush the ball. They play really well, and they're a really solid team. So fun to watch Yoder and those guys win in the C realm.
What I see a lot about the Amish Ohio teams is it's not that team jumping. It always seems like that same core, the same, what we always say our core is 4 or 5. Their core seems like it's all 10 to 12. And they all kind of stick together. They work their way up. And as you see, they're getting names on the bats and plus, you know what I mean? So it's really exciting to see. So now we're going to go down to the E to the D division. Dark Waters at the top of the list out of Ohio. I don't know about your E area, but I'm sure there's a lot of them. But we'll, focus in on Dark Waters.
Yeah, so a lot of the teams on the list are really, really good. The Pugs, Crosley, those guys, High Society Pugs actually won Midwest World, so they're a pretty good team. But these Darkwater boys, they're just different. They battle every weekend. They play no matter if it's snowing or if it's raining, or it doesn't matter. They're like, I'm going out there and playing ball. They're coached by Lucas and Braden Shanefeldt, their father-son duo there. They had 4 first-place finishes this year, 13 top 5, and they finished 2nd in Midwest Worlds. They absolutely killed the ball, having an average run differential of about 4 runs a game. So played good defense, played solid ball. It was very fun to watch them. I can't wait to see what they do in D.
And now, of course, as we always do, we got to show the women's side of things the equal, or if not more value, okay, and love. Hustle's Free out of Ohio, moving up from D to C.
Yeah, this team's coached by Kyle Miracle, and they actually won every tournament they played in. They were first place in every tournament, including Worlds. They only had 3 losses on the season. The girls played really, really well. Only allowing 8 runs a game scored against them. They played great defense. They hit the ball, and they were a really fun team to watch. So I'm really excited for these girls and seeing what they could do next year.
As you see there, women's D to C, you have UAB LB out of Illinois, and then we have Reuben Home, and then obviously Hustle's Free out of Ohio being the top there on the list. And then Bradney, you knocked that out like it was planned, man. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to the Midwest. Aaron, how are we?
Good. How are you?
Doing great. We want to start things off. from D to C. And it looks like we're going to talk about. Oh, sorry. Well, let's go to E to D. We'll talk about Floor Company out of. They're number 2. They're on the list from E to D.
Yeah, Florco. They played 5 tournaments this year, and they finished first in 3 of them and second in 2 of them. And they averaged about 15.5 runs a game and only gave up 9. It's a bunch of young baseball boys that in the last 2 years have figured out how to hit the softball, but the defense was always there.
Yeah.
And they're going to be very fun to watch play in the D division next year. They've got the potential to make some noise right out the gate there.
And then when we go over to the D to C, we have a couple of Minnesota teams: Crystal VFW, SPG, We Fix Blinds, and then Sterling Trophy, and last but not least, Icon Intrinsic Construction out of Missouri. And then we're going to go back to your area, talk a little bit about the E to D mixed. We have Harvest Autos. It's kind of cool because I haven't seen a lot of mixed bumps just quite yet. But you know a little bit about Harvest Auto, CR Custom Cabinets, or Prairie View?
Yeah, Prairie View is in their Class E this year. They went 9-2, averaging 14 runs a game, only giving up 9. And they travel a lot, and they're always a thorn. Like, they just go out and play every time. They're a scrappy team. Same thing with CR Customs. That team just formed this year, and they went 8-2, averaging 17 runs a game, and only giving up 10. And then Harvest Auto was a brand new team to us. 6-1, came right out and went right through Boo and Brew this year, and took it home. And it was 2 Nebraska teams going at it in the finals there. You had CR Custom and Harvest Auto, so they knew each other pretty well.
Yeah, I was about to say Nebraska, obviously, on the list there, you saw the number 1, number 2, and number 3, all 3 E teams getting bumped to D. I don't know how the D division is out there, but if you have all 3 moving up, it's going to be that same competitive nature, plus adding in a little extra D teams in that mixed division,
Absolutely.
All right, well, I appreciate that, Mr. Aaron, and then we're going to head on over and switch things up from the Midwest as we go to the West with Mr. Tim Yamashita. Tim, we're going to start off, obviously, a very highly talked about team from the D to the C division, and we have Jobu out of Utah. What do we know about Jobu?
Jobu's been one of those ones where they've been together for the last couple of years. They just never quite could find their rhythm until this year. They played a lot of ball. They ended up taking down my super regional tournament, which was super cool for them, battling against a couple different C teams that were in a mix in a D and C. But I don't even know what to tell you. Austin and Taylor, 2 of the best guys out there. We talked about New Era. They gave New Era everything they could at D Worlds, but in the end, New Era just out hit them.
Yeah. I mean, Jobu, I wanted to say I've seen quite a bit, a lot of talk about that team and how well they've done. I think an impressive 44-15 on the year. I think just knowing a little bit about the softball, in the know when it comes to tournaments, their name came up quite a bit.
Yeah, like I said, last year wouldn't have counted them. This year, I had a pretty good feeling that they were going to go the distance. They were going to make some noise, and everywhere that they went and played, they made noise. So I'm super proud of those guys.
So they'll have a nice transition into C. And then let's talk about E to D division. And we're going to highlight a team out of Utah, since that is your state. Balls on ya. All right, let's talk about Balls on ya at Utah.
These boys, they just ball. They came together. They're a bunch of baseball kids from last year. They joined our program about midway through last year, decided that they were going to stay together, and I tell you what, they are probably one of the most fun teams to watch. I know we talked about the Amish, how they never stop. I tell you what, these guys, they do about the same thing. They don't know how to stop. You know, they hit the gaps when they need to. The DBOs kill them. So I think going into D's, I think this is going to make a huge difference for them. They'll be able to free swing a little bit better, and I can't imagine not seeing them do really well next year in D's.
So we talked about a little bit about Jobu. Now we talked about Balzania. Let's show a little love to the women's side of things. So we have from C to B, we have a slide here with PAC, LA Empire coming out of California, and then Superior Coastline Sportswear out of California, and then Utah. We have Rattled. What you know about Rattled going into the B division next year?
So Rattled, they're just an amazing bunch of girls. They've had to play up and move themselves up several times by themselves because that's where they had to play. They had to play at that level to create a team. Those girls have stayed together all year. Very, very few pickups. They went to the Southwest Invite last year, ended up going undefeated and taking down that in Arizona. They decided to give conference a little bit of a run out here in Salt Lake since it was local, and they knocked off a couple B teams that surprised a lot of people. They turned around, went right back to the Southwest Invite. They lost their first game, and Bailey Kay, the coach, basically got the girls together and said, we're going to play a lot of games today in the heat. And they ended up doing the double dip thing, and now they're going to be a B team. And as long as they stay together, I'll bet you that we see them in the conference.
Obviously, knowing when a ladies team goes in and makes a big transition into the conference, much less any team jumping into the conference, whether it's men or women, is exciting because it's almost like make or break, So hopefully those ladies can stick with it together and make that transition into B, and hopefully one day into the conference. And let's talk about your area, D to C. Rounding things off with the number one spot, Lady Empire out of Utah.
So Lady Empire was kind of a weird team for me this year. They started out the year in C's, thinking that they can go play against a team called Savon team, and the Rattled girls. They just couldn't do it. They dropped a ton of games real fast, lost a whole bunch of girls real fast. Did the team appeal? I think they were like 0-8 going in, 0-9. They got the drop. We added a couple of the different girls to their roster, and I mean they took second at my GSL state. They took first at my NIT. They went down to GSL Worlds. They lost a sponsor halfway through, where they would have went to Florida to go compete down there, but. I think Braden Christensen and Oakley Smith, it's a guy-girl coaching staff, which is super fun and super cool to watch. So, real excited to see what they're going to do. They're going to play in the C's, so hopefully this year, it looks like Utah will have a CB program in the women's, and it'll just be fun. It'll be a fun season.
And that round things off for the West area, and now appreciate you, Mr. Tim Yamashita, for hanging out with us and talking a little bit about your area. Now let's switch over into the oh-so-famous South area with Ralph Calderon. How we doing, sir?
Good. How you doing, Rhino?
Doing great. So we have, obviously, Florida is a huge state for softball, and we always know Florida, when they come, you don't know what we're going to get half the time. But we do know that there are some bumps. And we'll start off with the division from D to C and the team Drip. What do we know about Drip, Ralph?
Drip, coached by Lucas Patrick and Joe Bard. Many may know them as the core of that team is the Lagunatics guys that won E-Worlds the year before. So you always reference Mrs. Superior, who wears the skirt and stuff like that. Just a bunch of players that have been playing together since baseball. They've all come up and enjoyed their time together. They were very well coached. They won GSL Worlds in Panama City. They basically ran out of gas at USSSA Worlds. I think they played like 6 or 7 games in a row, but they were clearly the hottest team Saturday, and just ran out of gas. But strong, very fundamentally. I actually watched them for a couple of innings at Worlds, and I was just amazed at the speed and how well they play together, and the camaraderie amongst the teams. Fun group to watch. The thing that I really enjoy about them is that Worlds was over. 2 days later, their coach was telling me, "So when's your next C tournament?" And this is they have had two C tournaments. One didn't make last week, but they're going to play C in my sponsorship tournament. They were the first team to sign up. I got leagues here, a bunch of their guys playing in the league that I'm at, and the guys said we're going to stay together till we get to the conference. We're gonna go from E all the way up to the conference as a team, and that's what I love to hear, that they are going to stick together no matter what.
Well, as you saw the list there, there's what I think 1, 2, 3, 4 of your Florida teams getting bumped from D to C just on this top 6 roster alone. So I know you have your work cut out for you out there with all the bumps. Let's talk to the Division E to D now. And we start things off with Buckham Phantom Sports Big Johns out of Florida.
Buckham, coached by Buck, Dusty Couch. What I really enjoy about the team is that they travel. They know that you're going to play all kinds of different competition at Worlds, so why just play the same teams over and over and over again?
Right.
They went to Panama City. They won our Battle of the Borders tournament that D Hicks, D Stubbs, and I run together in Valdosta, Georgia. They brought the cup, and got a picture with Dustin where he came and gave me the cup. So really, they went to Georgia, Panama City. There were several states that they went to and played, and always played well together. Just a fun group to watch. They never stayed. They never let. They're always having fun. They're always enjoying. They won our John King's Classic tournament. It's a really good group of guys.
You always notice when you're watching that one fun team, they're going to be entertaining. Whether they're horrible, they're going to be entertaining, or they might just be good. You know, it still works out. I've seen so many people out there just having the time of their lives, and I would say more so than much, they're out there winning. So, you know, it's all about having fun. So now let's switch over to the women's side of things with you, Mr. Calderon. Lady Psychoville.
Yeah, the USSSA. Yeah, my USSSA D World Champions. They went and double dipped and won D Worlds. From day one to Worlds in a couple weeks ago, they were the best D team in the state. They were very good, and then they had the coach player, Crystal Morgan, but then they handed over the reins to Beth Talley, who had a great year. She coached the team to the championship, and then her co-ed team got second place in mixed D. So I think that was the difference. It brought her personality and just always joking around, and just made it a fun place, and they were a really, really good team. I mean, shout out to teams Smash. They were the second best women's D team, but clearly Lady Psychoville had a great year.
All right, and I appreciate that. That's Mr. Ralph Calderon with the South area, and we have one more, last but not least, Mr. Jim Pila out of the Northeast. Has quite a bit of bumps from the area. Jim, We'll start things off with C to B division and Fisher softball out of PA.
How's it going, Rhino? Can you hear me okay?
Doing good, doing good. I can hear you just fine.
Great. Hope everybody's having a great show here. Fisher softball is clearly a team that has earned a promotion. Fishers will play anywhere at any time, and they did just that this year. They were out at GSL in Vegas, GSL in Ohio, Maryland, and they won the Vieira C Worlds. They are a great team. I believe they're going to play Conference B next year. They may be adding a few fire sticks to that lineup, and I'm really looking forward to seeing them shine in the conference. They've got great coaching, and they play as a team. They had a great showing in the Maryland Major as well.
Yeah, I've heard quite a few times Fisher softball come up, and I've seen a few good things. So obviously, when they're making a big jump from C to B, everybody always knows, E to D. That kind of little jump is usually from D to C, and then it's that big jump from C to B. So big shout out to Fishers. Hopefully they do well, and withstand and hang with the boys in B. So let's talk about
Fishers is ready to go.
We'll see it. Predictions, Jim. Predictions.
Fishers and AUIT can play at the next level. There's no doubt in my mind. So I wish good luck to both teams.
So let's move on to the D to C in the men's, and we have the New Jersey team, Dream Worn Lunar Steel. Dream Worn Lunar Steel.
This is our GSL world champion from Salisbury, Maryland. The thing about this team is I think they have the power right now to play up at the C level. I think this team is more built for C in that they can really hit the home runs and use them correctly. They can hit both power and for average. They have two pitchers and they rotate them well. This will be a great addition to the C program in the Northeast, Rhino.
And then last but not least, sending it off E to D, Diamond Dynasty Wolfpack out of New Jersey.
Yeah, both Diamond Dynasty, Wolfpack, and the other Dreamworn team are ready to move up. These were our final two at the GSL World in Salisbury. Diamond Dynasty, Wolfpack lost a close game early in the E-Worlds in Vieira, but the talent is definitely there. These guys go base to base. They make the defensive plays. A lot of baseball guys coming over to Slowpitch. I'm very excited to see both Diamond Dynasty and Dreamworn. There's two Dreamworn teams. I'm excited to see those teams playing in the D program next year.
And that kind of rounds up what we have highlighted here, just for the highlighted teams with the respective directors in their area, their divisions. Just want to reiterate, guys, this isn't the full-on bump list, all right? The list will be coming out, so don't worry, and don't get too happy if you didn't see your names on these slides here, all right? With that being said, obviously, I'm Rhino. I want to just thank you guys for being here, the directors, and talking about your area. But before we leave, like I always do any of my shows, the floor is yours, whether you want to highlight a team, say what you want to say, and it's y'all's. We'll start off with Bradney Simonowazalowski. Lowski. I was close. Come on. I tried.
I'm just really excited about this next season. All these teams are going to do really well. I'm very interested to see how Clement does in C and how Hustles Free does, women's team does in C as well. It's going to be fun to watch these teams go out and compete against some better competition at the next level. So I'm really pumped up and can't wait to see what everybody does.
Ken, it's like Clash.
I tell you what, this I've seen the list for the first time, and there's a bunch of great teams moving up that's going to compete at the next level. Some of them will have to make slight roster moves to, you go to D to C. You're going to have to get one or two more power hitters or something like that. But the defense that all these teams are playing, I tell you what, shout out to Jeremy Hollis on Gormac. He was in the conference, 127 years ago and gotten a little older and went down through the ranks. He's found a group of guys. They're going back up through the ranks. They'll do well in the C. The GATA team from Arkansas, the just different teams out there. they're going to do solid on the next level, and I'm looking forward to a great 2025.
And I'll go ahead and call out on Sam because I look at his screen here and he's got to say something about something. Sam, it's yours.
I don't know. Ken kind of hit the nail on the head there with what he said is, these teams that are all getting bumped got to, make a few roster adds and subtracts. Unfortunately, it is what it is. To be able to compete at the next level, you got to, the weakest links, you got to get rid of them. So hopefully these teams all stay together. In the next 2025, is this what this is for? 2025 season?
Coming up.
Everybody competes and has a good season.
Then we have Aaron out of the Midwest.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I'll say is I was just looking through some numbers, and people always say that this is an offensive game, but every team that I'm seeing that's going up in my area is giving up less than 9 runs a game. So I'm pretty excited to see a lot of these teams move up and bring that defensive, highlights that they have and everything, the defensive pressure they put on people, see how that translates when they move up, because that is we've seen a big influx of baseball people coming over and fast pitch softball coming over, and you can see it, when they're giving up 9 or less runs a game, so it should be exciting when they get to try their new, take their talents up a notch.
Oh, for sure. And you hear it time and time again how they always used to say softball is a hitter's game, right? We see, defense, and we see those highlights coming more. It's more and more glove highlights, diving highlights, catching highlights. So you said it right. The defensive game is slowly coming and taking over. I'm not saying it's taking over completely. I don't think it ever will, but it's starting to be that deciding factor when it comes down to the end. So,
Exactly.
Aaron, I appreciate you. Tim out of Utah.
I tell you what, Rhino, I'm more excited to watch the women's program this year. Mm-hmm. All these states, we're finally starting to grow. Some of these women's teams, it's awesome that the guys, we go out and watch the guys hit the monster bombs, make the great plays. But these girls that are hitting bombs and making these defensive plays are just incredible athletes. And watching them go from the fast pitch side to the slow pitch side, I'm super excited to see some of these women's programs in multiple states start to get bigger, and we get to start watching some of these other world events come along.
Mr. Ralph Calderon, the floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, I'm also excited about the upcoming year. What's going on over here. But especially in the women's program, I want to second what Tim saying. Our women's C program was very, very solid this year. We actually had our state tournament had more women's C teams than D, and I'm very excited about that. We're going to have we're going to have at least one B team next year, and the C teams are looking forward to playing against team and playing against better competition. So I'm really happy about that. I also want to shout out Bang Bros for winning the D Worlds this year out of South Florida. They were my sponsorship team, and basically middle of the pack team throughout the year. Just at the end of the year, it seems like everything clicked, and they put it all together and in one world. So really excited. I'm also in the last year or so, the Panhandle we have has joined us, and we have presence in the Panhandle. So a state that is gotten even bigger, and just it's fun. It's fun to watch. It's fun to see how people just take the program and adapt to a different program, because we know that the Panhandle has not had much of USSSA presence, but now we have gone in there. We have a great new director up in that area, and the red train is rolling. through the Panhandle as well. So very excited for 2025.
Can I shout out Dark Waters one more time? I missed this earlier. I don't know how I missed it. They played 92 USSSA GSL games this year, winning 64 of the 92. I just want to tell you, when I told you they played rain or shine or any other time, I was being serious. Like they played in so many events. So I just want to give them an extra shout out because I think they played the most games out of all the teams in Ohio.
Definitely deserving.
Rhino, I got one more too. I forgot. Rebel Click, my co-ed team, they just barely won this last weekend, USSSA Worlds down in Vegas. So between Bree and Kenyon, trying to help us grow a co-ed program back, I just want to give them a huge high five on that.
Well, you hear it first. We see the respective directors. First, before we get off, I just want to say thanks to you, gentlemen and ladies that are doing the directing. I know you probably hear all the negative stuff before you hear the positives. I know you have a very important job. I know it's tough. You can't make everybody happy, but all you can do is the best that you can do. So Tim, Bradney, Ken, Aaron, Sam, Ralph, Jim, KO, I just want to say thank you guys because I know I've seen it. I don't want to do it, so I choose not to. But more power to you guys for doing what you do. And you guys are like the gatekeepers of USSSA and keep making USSSA great. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
So that is our quick little bump list of what we have for the directors and their respective divisions. Again, this is not the whole thing. Be tuning in, be prepared, be ready to watch your team, move on to the next division. And this has been the USSSA Bump List Show. Signing off. We appreciate you guys. Thank you so very much.